that you know the candidates. And the reason I am particularly following Jerry Carter is because that's what I'm asking. I'm asking if it is the case that you know your candidate, that you know what he's saying, and you know what he believes. And, I want to really give you a means by which you can maybe monitor, because you're probably thinking, okay, Johnny, are you going to bring up something unknown about Jerry Carter tonight? I mean, what is this that you're leading into? And so what I'd like to do is I would like to remind you of some of our candidates from the past, and you basically, you have to, kind of play along here, and you might say, okay, I don't remember a candidate from the past that actually was a pastor. Well, maybe I can help remind you on that, and that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to let you look at a few of the candidates, or some candidates that have come along in the past, I don't know, I can't remember sometimes how long things took, how long it's been since they transpired. So let me give you a little jolt here, and we'll just get back to our subject as soon as we look at this video. How are we doing?
Not getting any sound from it.
Okay. What about that?
Oh, you just lost the picture. Picture back, no sound.
Okay, this is where it is. Let's see. Boy, that's convoluted, isn't it? Let me see this. Let me try this right here. Oh, okay, go ahead. So Caleb, he's interviewing out there, so I see him. That should be it right there. Fonts. How about that? What?
I'm trying to understand the evolution between this morning and this afternoon. I like to
Okay, here we go. Let's start over.
As you go through a campaign with a candidate,
Okay.
you begin to learn that candidate.
Okay.
You begin to know that candidate.
Okay.
Before the campaign was over, I knew that this candidate was not senatorial material.
That's fair enough. Did you resign as his as a supporter?
No, I was too deep into it at that point. I couldn't.
Okay. Hold on. Don't lose that momentum right there. That was a gentleman back in the day named Jeff Evans. And Jeff is actually still a pastor. He's a pastor at Highland Baptist in Ridgeway right now. But Jeff was a pastor back then, having been a state trooper, and he was running for a state senate in Virginia. And he was, I forget, Victory Baptist Church is where he was a pastor. So that was his former campaign manager that we just heard from. He said that after he went through the campaign, as he was going through the campaign with this gentleman, he began to realize he's not senatorial material. I believe that's what he said, senatorial. I could be wrong, doesn't make any difference. He didn't get it. So, you see my question? Do you really know your candidate? You got a guy who is his campaign manager. The guy is a pastor. And midstream, he realizes that he is not candidate material. What about this? I'm sure you remember this gentleman here. And, I'm not trying to do shock value. It's just the way it is. Now, I am going to prep this. This guy actually uses what some people would call an expletive, like a curse word. It's not cussing when you use it the way the Bible teaches it or uses. As a matter of fact, for instance, he that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be damned. Now, folks, I'm using the word damned right out of the Bible in the biblical sense. So, listen to, this was a candidate that we had several years ago. This was his pastor. So, did you really know the candidate? Listen to this.
No, no, no. Not God bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible.
Earlier today,
Now, that was Barack Obama's pastor, baptized his children, performed their marriage. That's where he had been a member since the early 90s in Chicago. And as a result of him running, Barack Obama running, they end up bringing his pastor out. And he didn't know his pastor either. Well, you might say, yeah, he did. Well, Fox News caught up with him. And see, the question we're asking is, do you really know your candidate, especially candidate Jerry Carter, who is a pastor? And Caleb's going to come and join me in just a minute. He's been out interviewing Jerry right after the show that they went off on. So he has fresh footage from an interview that just took place out on the public sidewalk. So let's go ahead and listen to Fox News catching up with Barack Obama after his pastor made that statement.
when I contacted your campaign and I asked them if there was any way the campaign felt the need to add further context, add further distance between yourself and the statements of Reverend Wright, the one-word answer I received was no. Then late this afternoon, you have a statement that says, I vehemently disagree, strongly condemn. I'm trying to understand the evolution between this morning.
Now, let me just do a little, this is a little bit lengthy, so Matt, if you'll cut me out of the picture and cut my microphone, I'll talk to Caleb while this is playing.
And this afternoon, and I'd like to know specifically, Senator, what you vehemently disagree with and what you strongly condemn.
Well, Major, I got to confess that, as you know, I was voting in the Senate all day yesterday, so I wasn't following this story as carefully as I could have been. And then I flew back to Chicago. When I saw these statements, many of which I had heard for the first time, then I thought it was important to make a very clear and unequivocal statement. None of these statements were ones that I had heard myself personally.
I don't think we've seen that. But what we've learned over this year is that
You talking to me?
hope is making a comeback. It is making a comeback, and let me tell you something. For the first time in my adult lifetime, I'm really proud of my country. And not just because Barack has done well, but because I think people are hungry for change.
Come back.
All right, let's take some calls now.
Yep. Okay. Now, candidate Obama did not know his pastor. And we didn't know Barack Obama's wife. I mean, the pastor and the wife kind of agreed. She wasn't proud of America, hadn't been proud of America. She'd probably been listening to the pastor who said that God needs to damn America. And so now we're back full circle to Jeff Evans. Now, let me just give you a quick picture again of Jeff Evans. This is Jeff Evans. He is now preaching in Ridgeway, Baptist pastor, former state trooper, state Virginia trooper. And let's see. Here's what folks are saying about Jeff Evans over at his church. Young people have continued to hold a special place in the ministry of Highland Baptist Church, which has continued under the current pastor, W. Jeff Evans, and wife Janet C. Evans. Pastor Evans, an Army veteran, retired Virginia State Trooper, has a special place in our heart, our military veterans, law enforcement, fire, and rescue who serve our great country. So they have a great opinion of him. Now, what are we talking about tonight? We're talking about politics and the pew. We're talking about church folk getting involved into politics. It's hard enough, y'all, to know what a politician believes. But add to it a politician that was already a pastor. And if you've been watching our broadcast, we hope that one of the things you take away, whether you like us or not, a lady called in on the buzz today where I was a guest, and she actually apologized for a long time activity associated with downing me. I don't remember it, but I do remember her. But she had said some things about me that she didn't like me or something to Charles, maybe when I wasn't on the show or whatever. She actually apologized for that today. So whether you like us or not, you have to admit that we're bringing out things that maybe you didn't know about your pastor or about your church. For instance, over in Martinsville, I told this earlier today that the Galilean House of Worship used to be a missionary Baptist church, and when they changed, I talked to their members and I told them, you're going to end up being Pentecostal before it's all said and done. Oh, we'll leave. We're going to be a missionary Baptist church. Well, they're not a missionary Baptist church now. Their pastor is not Dr. Penn anymore. He's now Bishop Penn. He was ordained by a Pentecostal apostolic bishop. See how that goes? Now they're into Pentecostalism. So You know, and it's kind of like the old saying about boiling a frog. When you put a frog in water and the frog is alive and you turn the stove up slowly, because the makeup of the frog, he just sits there and boils. He doesn't recognize that things are changing. That's the way people are. When it's slowly done, it happens. You know, we're loving it. Pastor's making everything good. Well, here's the question. Do you really know a candidate? We're back to Jeff Evans. He is a Baptist pastor, was then, is now. He was a state trooper. His manager flipped on him, his campaign manager. Now listen to what comes out about Pastor Evans, and is he really a candidate who is senatorial quality?
Find everyone, 434-549-8548 is the number to call. Press 1 and you'll get right into the studio to talk.
Okay, again, Caleb, you ready?
I'm dragging it over.
Okay.
Talk with Jeff Evans. Go ahead, caller. Do you have questions?
Hello?
Hello. Do you have questions for Jeff Evans?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to tell our listeners about when you were a state trooper putting guns in suspects' mouths and smacking them up beside the head with a gun?
Wait a minute. Is this an accusation? Former campaign manager asked Jeff Evans on the air, Baptist pastor, state trooper, would you like to tell the audience about putting your revolver in suspect's mouth and slapping them upside the head with your revolver? We're talking about interrogation here, techniques, state troopers. Oh, surely not. Your pastor, Victory Baptist pastor, individual who is running now for the Senate and state Senate and was a state trooper, highly revered and regarded. Surely not such a thing. Well, I'll tell you this. Now, I'm going to give a plug for the station here. You will only hear this kind of stuff revealed on Star News. And I'm not saying I'm going to reveal anything tonight. I have no idea what they asked Jerry Carter. But I do know this. I know Jerry Carter's doctrine. I can listen to enough of his. He debated one of my co-workers, Eden, that was working with the Eden Church of Christ. I don't know what year it was. You have any idea what year it was?
It was posted 2014.
Yeah, it was way before that. So it's up on YouTube now, and you can hear the things that he said that, that pertain to this information. I think I have that tonight. I don't know, do I actually have it or do you? Where he says, okay, all right. So you can tell I'm building this up. Let's go ahead and listen to it.
Well, out and that may be, I'd say if we talk to enough state troopers or police officers anywhere, then them things may have happened. But that's in the past. Whatever.
Wait a minute. Now, wait a minute. You just move on like that? Now, I'm basically hearing lots of people making accusations about different people. Say, for instance, that people talk about things that Trump has done, and I'm saying religious people, they end up pulling that card about his behavior. Now, I am saying we are not bringing in individuals based on their religion. I don't. When I'm thinking about persons helping our country, I really don't think they're going to get to push their religion on anybody at the Capitol, state Capitol, or our federal Capitol. So most people that I'm associated with who are voting for commander-in-chief, not pastor-in-chief. But what we're talking about tonight is we're talking about, do you know your candidate? And just because he's a religious person in the community and calling out his religion as a reason why, I'm an individual who's been over here at Reidsville Baptist Church for all these years, blah, 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 blah. This guy was a state trooper and a Baptist pastor. And listen to what we're hearing. He's actually saying, let's hear that again. I mean, it's unreal how he actually brings his fellow state troopers into it.
Putting guns in suspects' mouths and smacking them up beside the head with a gun.
Well, out and that may be, I'd say if we talk to enough state troopers or police officers anywhere, then them things may have happened. But that's in the past.
Okay, see how the argument goes? It's other people are doing it, so if I did it, other people are doing it, and you know what? If I did it and other people are doing it, it's in the past. Seriously now, what we're talking about is when an individual comes in front of you, he uses his past as a reference to the present. I mean, if you get on Jerry Carter's page, he has individuals that are telling all these things about him, and they're referencing things that he's a chaplain. Now, to me, if he is a chaplain, that's an immediate problem, because being a chaplain means that you have to basically say it how everybody wants it. You cannot be a public chaplain and be discriminatory about anybody else's religion. That's just the way it is. I have friends that have been chaplains. I've known chaplains throughout my preaching time frame. I'm talking about members of the church. I did not appreciate them being as a chaplain because I think they're compromising themselves, just simply because you can't be preferential. Come on around. So we're going to let Caleb join us. I'm going to plug in the work that they actually were involved in, and we'll get him mic'd up. You just go ahead and pretend you're not on TV and mic up, and we'll look at this. But let's go ahead and listen. Does Jeff Evans, who was running for Virginia Senate, I saw a microphone. Actually, yeah, okay. He was running for Virginia Senate. Now, let's go ahead and listen. Does he deny it? And the only thing we're doing here, we're not trying to say that Jerry Carter's involved in any of this kind of thing. We're simply saying a Baptist pastor doesn't mean anything. Doesn't mean you know him. Doesn't mean that he is your candidate material. Remember, this guy's manager, his campaign manager, decided that he was not candidate material in the last go-round. And this time when he ran, in other words, it wasn't the first time that Jeff Evans had run, and so this time around, he is not backing him, but in fact exposing. Continue to listen.
Whatever it is you're talking about.
So you're not calling me a liar?
No, I'm not calling you a liar. I don't
What are
know
you
exactly
talking
what
about,
you're even
caller?
talking
Yeah,
about.
I'd like to know. Let's be specific. Are you suggesting that Jeff Evans himself is someone who has been guilty of police brutality, or are you referring to state troopers in general?
Well, according to his stories to me, yes.
Yes, which?
Yes, he has. According to his stories to me, he has placed guns in suspects' mouths and smacked people upside the head with his gun.
What's your name, caller?
Why do you need to know my name? Jeff knows my name.
So do you know this
Yeah,
caller?
I know him.
Okay. I just was getting your first name, but tell me, what's this caller talking about, Jeff?
This gentleman here, he helped run my campaign in 2007.
So he was a supporter.
Yes, he was, but he's not now, and so that's perfectly fine.
And that's, caller, any other questions? I mean, you were a supporter of his in 2007, and now you're making, certainly very derogatory remarks.
Does he deny any of my accusations?
Let me ask you this. Why would you change?
No, answer.
I don't have to answer your question. Guess what? It's my show.
Now, what he basically said, does he deny his accusations? No. He didn't deny his accusation. Will you call me a liar? The guy's name is Alton. Jeff Evans, candidate, Baptist pastor, former state trooper. Do you deny it? Do you call me a liar? No, I'm not calling you a liar. Do you deny my accusation? No, I'm not denying anything. So what you're saying is, by default, that in fact, yourself and other troopers actually did put the revolver in people's mouth and smack them upside the head. See what I'm saying? Do you really know your candidate? So Caleb, give me a little, you tell us what we're going to expect here, and then I'm going to load up another.
Well, what people should expect, and I'm saying, I don't know if you've already built up on this, there's no doubt that Jerry Carter is using the religion card as a voting platform.
I didn't just really build it. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, what's he going to be running with? It's the idea of people are going to know Jerry Carter, they're going to know religious background, but what we want to show, and my question would be, is let's say Jerry Carter wins, what happens to his church? I mean, is he going to stay with it? Is someone going to take it over? And I really don't understand, this was not something that we got to ask him, why would Jerry Carter want to insert himself into the political arena where everyone knows his hands are going to be tied, and he admitted to us his hands are tied with being a chaplain. Being a chaplain means you're going to have to minister to people who do not believe the way that you do, and it's basically, he was with the North Carolina Highway Patrol as their chaplain and emergency chaplain. He doesn't have control over what he's going to say. And he said that to us. He said, the only area where I have authority is Reedsville Baptist. And I said, so that means you would let them dictate? He said, well, wait a minute. But my thing is, friends, why would, if he wants to evoke change, be more vocal with the power of the pulpit instead of saying, well, we're going to run over into the political realm where our hands are tied. And I think this should just show to everybody, Jerry Carter is already on the pathway of politician, no straight answers, and just dodging around. And even then, friends, you cannot just say that it's us. That's what Jerry Carter said. He said, you upset people. No, getting tough questions upsets him. That's just all there is to it. So we started out asking what I do believe is one of the biggest issues that any community is going to have, and it's the marriage issue. So that's where we started with him.
All right, so that's what we're going to do. Matt, I would like to ask you, can you put us in a box?
Yeah.
Okay, so you put us in small boxes on either side, and we'll run our videos. I mean, our scene from there. This is we used this on the Buzz today, and so it was ready for the Buzz, and it's ready for tonight. So basically, Caleb, let's kind of go through the idea of a chaplain. So you get called out to a wreck, and this is what a lot of happens. Like Matt said, I know preachers in the Church of Christ, they fill up their church as a result of being a chaplain.
Right.
They get called out to these wrecks, and families out there, and family gets called into, and the chaplain, he does his job, which is he's there as a religious figure to minister to these people. Now, in the Church of Christ, I just don't see how he can give comfort to anybody out there on the highway who is dying, who has not obeyed the gospel.
Right.
But they somehow did it.
Yeah.
And so I had another friend that followed this chaplain, and the church split as soon as my friend got there. Why? Because a third of the individuals in that congregation, if not 2/3, were not converted. They loved the chaplain, who happened to be the minister with the Church of Christ, who ministered to their loved ones out on the highway, and them too. Now, I'm not saying that that's not a good thing in one sense. I would help somebody on the highway, but I wouldn't pray them into heaven.
Right.
I would not comfort them.
Well, he gave us so much. I mean, like with the video, it is going to be a segment that goes for 9 minutes, and
Okay.
they're broken up into different discussion points. But as far as being the chaplain, he gave us so much information that he was not being specific at all.
Okay.
Now he does say something that's very interesting when I made it specific.
Okay.
But he did not want it to be that way.
Okay, so you can narrate as we go along.
Yeah.
You feel free to stop it. But
Okay.
I'm going to play, before I play that, I want to play something I think to you that should be shocking to you. As far as an admission, this is an old admission, is that correct? All right, I want to play an admission to you from Jerry Carter when he debated James Oldfield. Take a listen.
I've seen people confess Christ but not get baptized. Well, did they get saved? Well, I'm not their judge, and I don't know. The only person in this world that I know is saved is Jerry Carter. I like to think my wife is, and I believe she is, according to the fruits that she bears, but the only person that I know for sure is me.
Now, wait a minute. Jerry Carter just admitted, and I'll play it again because I know it's shocking you, he doesn't even know if anybody in his church is saved. He's not even 100% sure that his wife is saved. The only person in the world that Jerry Carter knows is saved is himself. Now, when I start breaking this down, Caleb, it comes down to, this sounds like a very subjective set of circumstances. I mean, do you not know? Now, I don't have my, we rushed in. I'm going to open my Bible program. Go ahead.
Well, there's so much that this is the thing that people don't realize. I mean, Jerry Carter even said that he didn't like us talking to him. Just, first off, he did the thing about you don't have my permission.
Yeah.
So we had that, and then he said, and you guys ambushed me. Well, you're outside of the TV studio, and we're asking you questions. Anybody else would do that. But when we're asking him and we're basically having to deal with his aggression, I mean, he started getting very close, moving in on me, very aggravated. So when you're asking these questions, it is kind of hard for us to even do our part in it. But with it, it was like some of the things that he was saying, I couldn't believe that he would say them.
So you're a candidate. You're trying to impress upon people that you're a Baptist pastor, and you should know if you're a candidate. I mean, you're putting yourself out there for the news. Now, Star News has zero to do with us talking to Jerry Carter. So I'm saying this is a paid program. We put ourselves out in a rainy night to get information because, just frankly, because of Jeff Evans, who was a Baptist preacher trying to do the same thing in the state of Virginia. You don't know a candidate just because he says, I'm this and I'm that, and he's got this one who is backing him. I mean, so who's backing him in this area? We've got a page that tells all the different people that are backing him. So do they really know him? Now, folks, that's why the country's in the shape it's in. You don't know these individuals. So here's the question that I was asking Caleb about him not knowing if a wife is saved. This is Romans 6:17 and 18. Listen to what Paul says. But God be thanked that you were the servants of sin, but you have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered you, being then made free from sin, you became the servants of righteousness. Now, do you think Paul knew which individuals had obeyed that form of doctrine and become free from sin? When you obey a form, in other words, a particular doctrine that's set forth by the New Testament teachers, then you know that you've been set free from sin, and you know you're now a servant of righteousness. He doesn't even know if his wife is saved.
Romans 6:17 is exactly what I said to him outside.
Wow.
He said, do you know anybody that's saved? He said, can you prove that? I said, Micah is saved. I said, Johnny Robertson is saved. And he said, based on what? And I said, Romans 6:17 and 18.
you.
And
Obey.
to make a note of that, no Baptist would ever come in. I'm saying if Jerry Carter were outside and a Baptist were inside, they would never give the exact same answer.
Right.
Because it is so broad. And he was saying to me, don't judge. You shouldn't be judging. A Baptist pastor who doesn't know John 7:24, but this is my thing. If we could basically document that he's been doing this for at least 30 years, and he doesn't have his 30-year craft put together any better than that, he's not going to
His craft of pastor.
Right. He's not going to help the political
Right.
realm.
He's not up on the political realm. And that basically, that demonstrates that he's a 30-year veteran of pastorship, and he doesn't even know the questions. And I'll tell you this too, Caleb. If he had somebody come in to Reedsville Baptist Church and wanted to be in the leadership position, say a deacon, and they weren't a Baptist, he wouldn't let them be a deacon. Now, would he tell them that they weren't saved? What if they said, listen, I'm saved. I don't appreciate you saying I'm not saved. And since I am saved, if I'm saved, then I should be able to be a deacon. No, you can't be a deacon here. Why?
And we tried to ask him that because one of his positions, and with our time, like with the video of breaking it down, I don't know how much we're going to get through at this point, but we asked him, one of his big stands is, and I don't have a problem with this, I like it, he says we need to have voter ID.
Yeah.
We need to know that you're actually a citizen, someone registered to vote. But I said, why don't we do that with Christians?
Yeah.
Why is it that everyone gets to just identify as a Christian? I said, but you don't believe everybody's a Christian.
We've got to hear the footage. Now, I want to ask you to think within yourself. Is this useful? I mean, we have so much where we could compare him to other pastors that are of his like faith over in Martinsville. I don't think we'll get to tonight. We'll probably do that again on another show. But let's listen to the footage. 9 minutes. Wow. We should be able to get through. You
Okay.
narrate. You feel free to narrate it.
Okay.
Who you with?
Well, we are with a religious broadcast of What Does the Bible Say?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to ask you just a few things with yourself being a pastor and running for House Representative.
Right.
One of the things that I saw on your blog was you said you believe in
I must first say, impeccable video from these guys. I'm saying, watching this, you guys should be hired. This is fantastic
Hire
quality.
Micah then.
Wow, fantastic quality. Great job, Micah.
strong families.
Yes, I
You believe
do.
that marriage should be between a husband and a wife.
I do. Still do.
Okay, so our question would be, what would be your position on divorce? What would be a reasonable or a scriptural reason then to get a divorce and enter into a second marriage?
I don't see any biblical scriptural reason. Infidelity is what then, but Moses said it was because of the hardening of their hearts. I've pastored, I've preached this, and I believe this with all my heart, is that once you get married, I've been married 42 years, okay? And we've had struggles along the line. But one thing about it is we stayed married is because we worked it out.
Okay. So for people though that are, because that's going to be one of the bigger problems for the kids,
Right.
is the fact that their daddies and their moms are separated. So
Right.
what would you be saying to counsel those situations? Can they enter second marriage, or do they need to come back? Would you really press hard to say, no, you guys need to reconcile?
Well, I do all I can to reconcile people.
Okay.
I've done it for 30 years at my church.
Okay.
I do not believe in divorce,
All right.
but I'm not going to punish divorced people
Okay.
for the decisions they make, just like I'm not going to punish
We'll just let him play, because what he's fixing to get into makes no sense.
I think it was years ago I did a debate and
So now,
Okay, yeah, okay.
he is now saying, several years ago, I asked Jerry Carter, you said that a marriage should be between a husband and a wife, and we asked him, what would be your position on divorce? Point number one, he contradicts Jesus. He answered like the way that the Pharisees answered, which is usually what people call us. More people, I'm saying Baptists in this community, will say, well, if you're in the Church of Christ, you're just a Pharisee. But actually, Jerry Carter gave the Pharisee answer. If you look at Matthew 19, verse number 8, he gave their answer. Moses, because the hardness of your heart suffered you to put away your wives, but from the beginning it was not so. And he said, well, this is what Moses said. We don't want that. Jesus said, let's go back to the beginning before Moses. Number one, Jerry Carter does not know how to help you with your marriage. But then, if you were listening to that, friends, what did he do? He said, I'm not going to punish the divorced people. Listen, is God going to punish the divorced people who did not divorce scripturally? You know the answer is yes, because 1 Corinthians 6:9 says so. But Jerry Carter has his own idea. Now, friends, this is what we're saying. You're going to be looking at Jerry Carter as a politician. You're going to be saying, man, Jerry, stick to what we know is lawful. Stick to what is going to be constitutional rights. But he's going to come in here with something different that's going to say, well, that's up for debate. No. Matthew 19:9 is very clear. But see, he wanted to get away from that. And what he wanted to do was, James Oldfield misdid me in the debate.
Oh, my.
That's what he said.
Wow.
So if you go back and listen to that a little bit more, we can't even stay on topic. Mr. Jerry Carter wanted to go
Let's
back
hear that.
years ago to a debate that he had because he was still upset about it. Now, are you complaining about any of the debates you've had?
No.
I'm
No.
fine with the debates we've had, and he's still complaining about it.
Years ago, I did a debate, and Mr. Oldfield. Okay, yeah, Oldfield. He lied to me.
How so?
He lied because I asked him when we did debate not to chop it up and make me look like an idiot. And he
I cannot believe that James Oldfield would ever agree to anything of that nature. We have never
And he
agreed
said,
that
"I
we would not
asked."
chop it up.
Right. He said, I asked that. Doesn't mean you got an
That's
answer.
exactly right. I mean, that is absolute. We're not going to chop up the mess that you made and let people see it incrementally. Why in the world would we spend all this money?
And we're not chopping this up either.
No.
I brought it in, put it on a jump drive, gave it to you.
Okay.
Now, if it looks bad, that's because he answered poorly.
Okay, I'm just dying to hear it.
You'll get a phone call.
Okay, here we go. You're on What's the Bible Say? Sorry.
Good evening, gentlemen.
You're live.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I just wanted, Johnny, were you able to get the picture of the guy from Martinsville, the sarcastic guy?
I actually have a picture, and you know, everybody deserves a little bit of room. I'm thinking about letting him think about. Did you see the show? You know he changed, didn't he?
Yes, sir.
When he found out that he was going to be out of his armchair and on the television, he started acting differently. And so, you know, maybe I'm soft, get a little soft or whatever, but I'm going to hold up.
Well, that's okay. That's
Okay.
okay. My suspicion I just had to call and try to find out.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Y'all keep doing the good work.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
thank you.
tried to do it. So he didn't keep his word.
Okay. Well, I don't know anything about that.
I'm just telling you.
Yeah. So you would be against homosexuality.
I am against homosexuality.
And the reason I ask that with my generation is because a lot of people right now, they're experimenting with homosexuality, and they think it's the height of inconsistency for pastors and politics to come down on homosexuals, but they don't go hard line on what the Bible says about adultery. But you would say...
Well, the Bible's the Bible.
Right.
And the Word of God is the Word of God.
Okay.
And I live it and I preach it to the best of my ability as a human being.
Okay, and another thing that we saw was you were a chaplain with the Highway Patrol.
Yes, still am.
So one thing that I wanted to ask about that, with the chaplain, you would have to minister to a broad range of denomination folks.
Right.
So how, just an example, and I would imagine those would be emergency situations, how would you minister, you being Baptist, how would you minister in a chaplain situation to someone who's Methodist or Lutheran, Presbyterian, Catholic, who's very separated from your views? How would you minister to them?
Well, I look at them as human beings, to be honest with you, because, you know, we all have problems. And you deal with the issues, and you don't deal with their affiliation with being a Methodist or Presbyterian or Baptist or whatever.
Well,
I just can't stand that, just as it goes, because I hear Charles Stanley telling Methodist Presbyterians
Right.
that if they've been sprinkled as a baby, they're lost.
Right. And it doesn't matter what mom and dad told you. And this is the thing, friends. We're always looking for these opportunities. I'm thinking about Ecclesiastes 7. So when we see people have a funeral, somebody asked Dad, did you do ashes to ashes? And he said, no, we preach the gospel to the lost people in the audience. That's what a funeral's for, because Ecclesiastes says that in the house of mourning, people are going to have some sense about themselves. And here we are. Everybody's asking us, well, what will y'all do? Y'all are Christians. What will you do with someone who wants to be saved and they're on their deathbed? Well, Jerry Carter's not even going to get specific with them. And he says, the Bible's the Bible. Now I'm going to teach the Bible. Well, are you? Because you're going to have to tell them, look, These systems of belief, Methodism, Lutheran, Catholic, Presbyterian, he's going to be disagreeing with those. And we tried to ask him the question. I would say, you ask us questions, friends. You know, like Dad went to Romans 6:17, and I was able to say that's exactly what I went to. You would ask us, are they saved if they have not been baptized for the remission of sins in the name of Jesus Christ? And I would say Acts 2:38 says no. Jerry Carter makes the statement, he made it a moment ago, that a person, he said, the first step of their obedience is to be baptized. And he said, if they don't do that, I don't think obedience would follow after that. Well, Methodists, Catholics, Lutherans don't do that, but he says, that's not my place.
All right, let's save our time. 2:59. We're going to get through this. We got 20 minutes. 2:59. Let's hear Charles Stanley.
Now, when people say, well, but I know that if my mother would never tell me something that wasn't true, I wouldn't say she did. I'd say that may be what she was taught. That if I can just get you in the church and get you and have the priest or the pastor, somebody pour water on you or sprinkle you in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, you're okay. What I want to say is this: no, you're not. God doesn't think you are either. Then why did your parents? Why did they have you sprinkled or anointed or poured on? Why did they do that? Because they wanted to sort of give you to God. And they, in their interest and their desire for you, loved you enough that they wanted to be sure if anything happened to you, you'd be all right. The only problem with that is this. It's very deceiving, especially when you belong to a church that tells you if you're baptized into that church, you are safe forever. There is absolutely not one single verse in the Scripture to defend that. Not.
Okay, folks. If Charles Stanley was out on the road with you and he was ministering to you and you were a Methodist, he would not be able to give you any assurance as to being in a good position with God. He just sat right there and said, God is not for that. You're not going to be okay with God. Now, Jerry Carter, he takes them as human beings.
Yeah, takes it as human beings and says, I'm not their judge. I don't know. I don't know if anybody's saved.
Oh, that's right. We actually played another clip where he said he didn't know if anybody was saved, even his wife. So what kind of comfort do you get from that? That's basically just giving a person. We actually have one preacher in Martinsville that said that you can actually, he said, what did he call that? Something lying. When you go ahead and lie to them and it comforts them, and it's just, oh man, that's just, I can't believe. What would you say in a position in the Senate? If you would tell somebody on their deathbed things that they want to hear and their family wants to hear. I mean, we have EMTs that I have on my computer that told individuals that they were saved. They were Methodist. The EMT said that they prayed an unintelligible prayer, and it was the sinner's prayer, and that young person went to heaven. The Methodist pastor got up, woman pastor, and preached them all into heaven, and there were 48 beer cans strewn around the car where they had all been drunk, and they actually died. And I hated that, and I hated to be in the newspaper about that, but still, I would rather tell the next generation or the next young person that's drinking and driving the truth than to give comfort that Charles Stanley just said is not truly comfort. And where you're saying that Jerry Carter, he just takes them as they are, and he's not going to judge anybody on the highway.
Right, but he is going to go back a little bit, and he's going to contradict himself.
Okay, all right.
Well, in your Oldfield debate, you said that the first step of obedience is to be baptized.
Yeah.
And a Methodist does not do that.
Well, then that's their opinion.
So I'm saying...
But I can't force my opinions on anyone.
But if you're the
gospel,
religious chaplain, how would you minister to that person who you have such strong disagreement with?
I still minister to them.
Would you accept their
Well,
sprinkling?
number one, it doesn't come up in a debate.
What do you mean?
It doesn't come up in a debate. They don't say, I'm a Methodist.
Well, that would be why you'd be debating them. You would know they're a Methodist.
Well, how am I going to know they're a Methodist?
Well, if you're
When I
ministering
deal with them,
How does he know a person that comes to his church is a Methodist or not? You find out, you're not going to populate your church with Methodists or Episcopalians. Now you think you're going to populate, you're just going to let heaven be populated? And that's ministering? Is that really ministering? Is that the way he's going to represent the state, this particular area at the Senate level?
Right. Well, he's already said, like we saw on his YouTube channel, a church that everyone would want to come to, and he said the only people that would be uncomfortable, he started out the lesson by saying, well, agnostics and atheists wouldn't be comfortable here. Well, if it's a real hardline Baptist church, Methodists shouldn't be comfortable there. But look what he's saying. I take them as the individual, as a human being. What does that even mean?
I don't know.
Like, we're not taking people as human beings. We're saying you have an eternal soul, and you need to do what the Bible says, not this stuff about, well, that's just my opinion, and we're going to leave it at that. But I just would hope that people would notice, and I think that people do, how much dodging that he actually does with this. He goes from, I'm ministering to somebody, and I asked him, would you accept their sprinkling? I said, you're talking to them, would you accept that? And he said, well, that's not going to come up in a debate. We're not talking about you
on the
having a
highway?
debate. Right. I mean, this is you. You are the man, you're the chaplain, and they're saying, okay, Jerry Carter, this is it, this is your time. And he comes in, and what does he got? Easy believism, just like everybody else is doing, but you get somebody like Charles Stanley. Charles Stanley's going to tell them they're not okay. Well, Jerry Carter, he says, I can't say that. That's between them and God. We're going to get it a little bit. What I say back to him on that, he says, it's between them and God. But do you remember what he said at the beginning of the program, the video, when I asked him, so you think husband and wife only? He said, oh, yeah. And I said, so you're opposed to homosexuality? Yes. How did he get to say that?
Yeah.
Why is that not a personal issue between them and God? And Jerry Carter has that.
And he's forcing him his opinion on that.
It.
Okay. All right. Now, Caleb, just to get everybody on the same page here. Jerry Carter's church is a member of the KJ. It's listed as one of their churches, KJV churches. Do you realize what that means? These are the hardliners.
Right.
These are the individuals that Dwayne King's over here jumping up and down on the Lord's Supper table and screaming and yelling. And
Phil Kidd with his rebel flag boxing gloves.
I mean, they're taking them on. This guy comes down from Asheville and debates Caleb. They're the hardliners. Got this guy from Carthage, Tennessee, that calls in here, and man, they're the toughest, roughest crowd. And Jerry Carter, he can't bring out his opinion, and he's out there on the highway, and he can't bring himself to talk to the other people who are standing there about their eternity. As a chaplain, I thought that's what a chaplain would do.
And as people are hearing this, might say, well, what are we supposed to be making out of this? People who are inside a Reedsville Baptist Church, you should be making out that your pastor, the one-man leader who founded your denomination, does not at all have his Bible together. You would be looking at Baptist history, and when I talk to people, and me and Dad talk about this, we're ready to talk to people about the Bible. What are they ready to talk about? Denominational history. They want to talk about the people who came before us who are not even inspired individuals. But why is it that when we come to this, Baptist history, y'all have been having these debates for years, you have gone hard line, but now you're easing off of it. Jerry Falwell changed. When was his big change, would you say? I
don't know, 99, 97, he put it out in the newspaper that he was no longer keeping people out of his church on marriage, divorce, and remarriage. Right. You just couldn't be in leadership. So after that, after 97, he really started changing.
So there's really nothing to what y'all are doing. It's not biblical. It's not even y'all's real tradition. Like, you don't stick to your roots either. And Jerry Carter really displayed that for us tonight.
And two, what we're saying, look at our intro piece there. We're talking about politics in the pew. You already have a politician as a pastor. You don't need him in the Senate. We don't need any more politicians that were pastors that won't tell it like it is out on the highway treating people like human beings and not even really ministering. You've got individuals that are dying and hurting. You're going to see them in the hospital later probably. Mm-hmm. You're going to see their family members. Surely sometime around it's going to come up about them needing to be getting their soul right. He said, "I don't come up" as a chaplain. Yeah. And he limited to the highway, mm-hmm. Right?
Right. Or a debate.
Are that the only place that the chaplain is involved with people? I mean, I mentioned the gospel preachers that were chaplains. These people followed up, and that's how they ended up getting them to come to the Church of Christ in the first place, and they all had to be obedient to the gospel to get in. That doesn't mean that they actually knew it. Many of them came because the chaplain who was the minister at the Church of Christ was out on the highway. But he did teach them that they need to obey the gospel. But I'm saying you just start down that line when you become a person who can't have a particular position as a chaplain.
I would say double that with Jerry Carter's situation that would not be in the Church of Christ, because we are not at all saying be wedded to the preacher.
Right.
You need to be converted to Jesus Christ, whereas these denominations are saying, well, I know my pastor. He's been my pastor my whole life. God's not worried about that. I mean, we're looking at what the Bible says. We're looking at, can he really help your situation? And when it comes down, my biggest point with Jerry Carter that I wanted to bring out was the marriage situation that he really dodged on. Because families, like Dad was saying recently, people are not even getting married, but the people that are, we know that the divorce rate is 1 in 2. And people, I'm saying, I come in contact with people that are my age, and I keep hearing this, and I keep mentioning it to my wife. They keep saying, my stepdad, my stepdad, my stepdad, my stepdad. And it's like,
Is anybody functional?
Right, and I'm saying you had a stepdad, and you've told us about what that feels like. And all I'm saying is, let's keep the home together. And Jerry Carter says, well, I'm not going to punish them. What does that mean, though? Because Jerry Carter says, I'm not going to punish the people who get the divorce, but we will punish those kids.
Yeah.
We make the kids suffer through it because we won't tell the parents what they need to hear.
Right. Well, okay, Caleb, we're right at a line here where we're going to have to play it or not play it, and we're definitely going to say it was not an ambush. If the local media had been outside, or Greensboro media, and they wanted to talk to him more, he would have loved it because his face would have been in front of the camera, but nobody's asking the hard questions. Take a listen.
When I deal with them as human beings.
So you would be giving everybody Baptist doctrine?
I'm going to give them, first of all, good common sense. Okay. But I am a Baptist, and I make no qualms about that, and I do not apologize for that, because I believe the Word of God.
And the reason I ask that is because I would say that anyone who knows, like a chaplain, knows that they're going to have to deal with different backgrounds, and just the way that our government is today, your hands are kind of tied. So I would wonder, how should we expect your politics to be the way that a chaplain would have to serve different denominations? And I'm saying,
right.
Would you be able just to say, look, this is Baptist doctrine? No, you wouldn't say this is Baptist doctrine.
Well,
but with them, would you oppose sprinkling as talking to them?
Well, see, that's not within my rule of authority.
Explain that. I don't know.
My rule of authority is over Reedsville Baptist Church. I'm not the Pope of Reedsville.
Okay, I can't help this, Caleb. Gary Hughes said when the naked store, peep, they were showing peep shows and stuff in this toy store, the adult toy store right down from him, and we went down there and interviewed folk and got on it. And we asked Gary Hughes why he didn't do it. Ridgeway Baptist Church, Rich Acres Baptist Church. He said, I only have within 3 miles of my building. That's my ministry. What did he just say?
He said, I'm not the Pope of Reedsville.
Wow.
And that does not make any sense to me at all. What did he hope to accomplish by starting a Baptist church 30 years ago?
Yeah.
If he's not setting out to be some type of voice for reason and scripture.
How far are we reaching?
2 states and the internet.
And we know we just had 3 families move here from California last year at this same time. And so it's just, seriously, you're not, is that what he said?
He said, I'm not. He said, I don't have authority in that realm. The only place I have authority is Reedsville Baptist. And he said, but I'm not the Pope of Reedsville. But what he just admitted was he did not have any control over what he could teach. And you're just not going to do that with the Church of Christ. Now, somebody, I know, a friend of mine who was almost involved with a prison Bible study, and they told him, you can't just come in here and teach what you want to teach. They said you have to do AA, you have to do these things, and I don't have a problem with that to some degree. But he just said, look, I'm not coming here with my hands tied.
That's why we're not in the jails in Henry County. You have to go through, back then, when I was trying to get in, you had to go through the Sunlight group, which was the Baptists, and they were going to tie your hands.
They're not
going
to
to do
teach
it.
the
That's
Bible.
Right. That's right.
So you doing the job of the chaplain?
I'm doing the job of the chaplain. I would not do the sprinkling.
Okay. So,
but what they do is between them and God.
If they ask you
the
to
same
sprinkle,
thing as
would
you
do
do is between you and God.
If they ask you to sprinkle, would you do it?
No.
Okay. So in that sense, you would hold to. Now I'm fine with that. I appreciate hearing that. I mean, that's the question. I'm saying, I'm glad to hear that if you are going into politics, that you would say, look, if I'm ministering to a Methodist and ask me to sprinkle, I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay. One thing too that you also said.
So what's the difference? Jerry Carter believes so fervently that if they asked, they said, Pastor Carter, here we are on the roadside, please drip some water on me. He said, I'm not going to do it.
I mean, you know they got bottled water out there.
Absolutely.
Another thing, another question that you said from the Oldfield debate. You said the only person in the world that you know is saved is Jerry Carter.
That's it.
And I would ask, if you can't look at the flock, your congregation, and know those people and say they're saved, then how can your constituents who's going to vote for you say, how's he going to represent us?
Well, I'll put it to you just like this. You don't know I'm saved. I don't know you're saved. Because I don't know your heart. I've known a lot of hypocrites.
But is that what the Bible says?
Wait a minute. I've known a lot of hypocrites in my time, okay? Known a lot of people come up to me, pat me on the back, and say, we love you.
Okay, I just can't help it. He knows not saved people.
That's what I'm going to say to him.
Okay, we're our minds. Look how this is how this works. I mean, you get used to this. I'm sorry.
You're a great man, and then stab you in that back. Okay?
Okay.
And there's a lot of actors out there, and that's what hypocrite means, is actors.
So that's the Reedsville Baptist Church then?
What?
They're hypocrites now?
No, they're not hypocrites. See, here's the thing about it, and this is one reason a lot of people don't want to talk to you, is because mark things away. And by the way, you don't have my permission
We
to
don't
use
need your
this.
permission, Mr. Carter.
Well,
You should know that.
okay. But
He
you don't have my
said-
permission.
Well,
I'll
I'm
tell
saying
you.
where you were headed.
Yeah.
He said you can't know who's saved because they're hypocrites. They'll pat you on the back. Well, who's he talking about? I said your members that you don't know they're saved. And then he
Right.
goes on this big thing about well, some people are hypocrites. So what should I take away from that?
Right.
Everybody in his church is a hypocrite according to him.
You don't know who's saved, so I don't see how he can say if he doesn't know a person is saved, how can he say they're not saved?
Absolutely.
I mean, he just said that he doesn't know if they're saved. Now he's saying he knows a hypocrite, but he can't recognize a saved person?
Right.
That makes no sense. Okay.
You do not have my permission. I know you're going to cut it up.
And that's a
all of this.
politician saying, why would
No,
the
it's
politician?
not.
Why would you not want to be recorded and get your viewpoint?
Because it's not that. It's because the way you're going to cut it up.
This is
Just
going
like you
live.
did before. Just like you did
So
before.
do you think this is good? I'm saying we're not even cutting this up. I don't understand this.
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. Because the thing of it is what people do is between them and God. God is a God of the individual and of personal responsibility.
What are you
I
pointing
have
that
a
to?
personal responsibility to God, just like you have personal responsibility
What
to
are you
God.
applying that to?
What do you mean?
Well, you've already condemned the homosexuals, but now you're saying everyone is just them and God. So you
No.
shouldn't have condemned them?
See,
It's just
this is
inconsistency.
the reason people don't want to talk to you.
I would say
Okay.
this is the reason that Baptists don't want to talk to
No,
you.
this is the reason people don't want to talk. I'm not afraid to talk to you
I don't know why you're getting so upset.
because what you're trying to do is, I know what you're doing because you did it to me before. Because you twisted everything
I
around.
haven't really twisted that much. I've taken your statements that you
No.
said you can't know anybody saved because
You
they're
can't.
actors, and you can't know anyone in your
You
church is
can't
saved.
know.
So can I ask some more questions?
Who do you know that's saved?
I'm
And
saved,
you can
Micah
prove
saved,
it.
Johnny saved.
How you know? You can't prove it.
Based on Romans 6:17.
You can't prove it.
Romans 6:17.
You can't prove it.
Based on what?
Listen,
Carter?
he
I'm
can
giving
say
scripture.
he saved all he wants to, but the only person knows he's saved or not is himself, because you don't know his heart.
So Paul.
You don't know the inward parts
Paul
of
didn't
his
know?
heart.
Paul didn't know.
Paul didn't know anybody was saved other than himself.
Paul wrote to his brethren, and he says that I thank my God that you were the servants of sin, but you have obeyed that former
Because they
gospel.
confessed it, and they took their word at it.
Now you're
But I'm
changing.
not
You did
changing.
know
No,
and you
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
Listen, you know, because the only person I know saved is me, and I'm gonna stick by this.
But, and then that would be something else I'd like to come back to. So I'm saying there are just these elements of you're a pastor, you started Reasonable Baptist, and now you're going into politics. You said that you would like to have, and I'm saying all these things I think will come back to you in a religious sense. You said you would like to have voter ID.
Yes.
Because they need to be identified to
Right.
be a citizen.
Right.
Okay. Do you think Methodists are Christians?
If they have asked Jesus Christ to come in their heart and save them, yes.
Okay, so
That is the only way.
Okay.
Now, if you add works to salvation, for by grace are you saved through faith, and that not of yourself, it is a gift of God,
How did he
not
know?
of works, lest
Works.
any man should boast.
But you said baptism is the first step of obedience.
It is the first step of
And
obedience.
they do not do that.
What?
Be baptized.
Well, that's between them and God.
So they're really not Christians then because they
That's
haven't been
between them
obedient.
and... I'm not their judge.
But you
Listen,
already
let me
said.
give you something real quick.
Okay.
There's 3 responsibilities in this thing called the ministry. It's not my job to judge. That's God's job.
I disagree
And
with
when
that.
you step into that position, you're stepping into God's position, and God will judge you for that.
That's wrong.
No, you're wrong.
John 7:24.
You are wrong.
Give me a
It's
scripture.
not my job.
John 7:24.
It's not my job.
John 7:24.
It's not
says,
my job.
Judge righteous judgment.
Listen, I'm talking about judging the heart. I'm talking about
He
judging
doesn't
one
say
man's
that.
action.
He says in Matthew 7
Well,
to judge their actions.
I'm just telling you what I believe, okay?
Okay.
We know we disagree on a lot of stuff, okay?
Is this how you're going to treat people that ask you hard questions?
No, I'm not.
Because you're getting pretty agitated.
I am. You do agitate me. I ain't gonna lie about that.
Yeah.
Because number one, you ambush me.
Who isn't
Okay.
going to wait on you to ask questions? Everything has to be a softball to you?
Yeah,
It does?
you're right.
Okay. Well, I'm...
Okay, we did him a favor, ran the whole thing. He accused us without a cause, the whole interview. People were calling in, I'm sure. He was wanting to call in, asking questions. You're in person, asked him a question, and you ambushed him. Never can please these individuals. And here's the question you got to ask yourself. Do you really want a politician that was a politician in the pew? Do you want him in the Senate? And can you trust this guy? Folks, we're out of time. Caleb, we appreciate you and Micah, your hard work. Thanks for being with us tonight, and you'll see more. Always ask for what the Bible says.
This is it.